Welcome back to another episode of the Cat and Mouse Podcast. As we know, cats and mouse, or cats and mice, I should say, have very opposing perspectives and opposing views because they're entirely different animals. And so this podcast, for those that are tuning in for the first time, is about a man and a woman having conversations, hopefully healthy conversations, about some opposing views. So welcome back to the Cat and Mouse Podcast. So I want to jump right into the conversation that kind of pick up where we left off last week. Because last week, it got a little heated. I got stuck on a word, you got stuck on a word, and the word was hyena. We got stuck on the word for two different reasons, right? Mm-hmm. My perspective was, I don't like to categorize and stereotype people and put them in a box and call them a word. Now, I understood that you were trying to use it as an analogy to describe and compare women from your community with people, or animals in the wild, right? The hyenas in the wild, and correlating their behaviors. So there were a lot of people, when I posted a clip from that episode, that were just going in on the conversation. I was called a hyena many, many times, which I thought.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I gotta see it.
Which I thought was hilarious because this is really, truly, and again, I want to emphasize this. I understood that you were trying to make a point using the hyena animal kingdom as an analogy, right? The thing is, it's just a little clip. And so people don't know the whole story.
Okay.
They were like, you were stuck on this word. And I was stuck on it because here's why. This is just my thing. I love to have conversations about things that are really happening in life.
Okay.
But however, how I feel, and this is just my opinion, how I feel, is that when we start stereotyping and categorizing people, whether women are calling men dogs, because that was brought up a lot in comments, or men are calling women hyenas, or whatever the word is, we get so hyper-focused on the word because of our own cognitive bias, right? And so I heard that word fits the narrative that I already believe in. And so I've become laser focused on that. And then we never really get to have a real conversation about what your experience is with the women in your community. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that because I felt like last week I was in my feelings, you were in your feelings, and we were being very defensive. And I don't want to advocate for that. I want us to be able to have healthy dialogue where you get to share from your perspective as a man, and not just a man, but from your own personal experiences, what you're going through. And I want to be able to share that as well.
May I say that for me, it wasn't being in my feelings. It's just making a point. Because when I bring up about hyenas, I'm bringing up a mindset. 100%. There is a mindset within that animal kingdom that does not respect order. They don't respect one another. Those are the same ones. And when I say in the community, we see that constantly in the community. And a lot of people have been raised by hyenas. They have been raised to help cut each other down, not have respect for one another. And this is my experience. I've heard older women tell a lot of younger women, girl, you don't need a man. Cut him off. Put him on child support. He don't need to be there. And I've seen women also turn on one another, even in the midst of support. Okay. So there's a mindset within the animal kingdom where if there's a woman leader there, the other ones in the back are waiting to cut her down as soon as they get a chance to. So there's always a queen, there's a princess, and there's the rest. And if the princess get opportunity to cut the queen down, they even set her up to fight a lion. And male lions pride themselves on breaking the backs of hyenas. So I'm serious, you got to look this up. A male hyena will literally tackle them down, break their back so they can't move. The princess is cool with it.
Translate that into human beings and what humans do.
In what I mean by human beings is there's a lot of people that are in your group sometimes, hyena mindset, whether it's man or woman. There are people in your group that's hoping that you get your back broken. That's hoping that you fall off. That's hoping that you fail so that they can be opportunity to take your place. There's a mindset of people that don't really care. They'll play like they with you. They'll be in the clique, hunt with you, kick it with you. But first chance they get to see you fall and fail, they can't wait to take your place. So it's a mindset within the community. Do you agree or don't agree?
Well, okay, so I have to allow myself to get past the comparison, right? Because again, you're comparing the animals in the animal kingdom, and you're saying they have mindsets similar to human beings, right? And you're saying that there's an out of order thing, but in the animal kingdom, there is a natural order to things.
Not with them.
Independent of human beings, right? What separates us as humans from animals is our cognitive ability. Okay. So I want to be able to have this conversation, if you don't mind, just solely based on what you're experiencing from your community. Because the comparison that you're making with animals and lions and all that stuff, it kind of convolutes the conversation, in my opinion.
Never forget this.
But you're having the conversation with me.
Okay, listen. So with you and I, this is a relationship I have with you.
Okay.
When you and I are talking, we're in a place where we're learning to understand one another.
Okay.
So if my dialogue is going over your head, okay, I'm going to try to find a way to bring it back.
It's not going over my head.
What you say, it doesn't make sense.
No, I didn't say it makes sense. It just convolutes things.
So if it's convoluting, what part is convoluting when specifically, okay, so you have known women.
Okay, let me.
Can I ask this question real quick?
Go ahead.
You have known a group of people that have been waiting for other people to fail, yes or no?
Yes.
You have known a group of people that have done things to cut other people down, yes or no?
Of course.
You've known people, actually, when they get a chance to take your spot, they can't wait to take your spot.
Sure.
So it's the same analogy.
Okay.
So that's where that analogy comes in.
But I don't want us to get really caught up and trapped in the analogy, because.
But you say you don't understand, so that's why I just gave you that.
But how does that compare to a hyena? Okay, if you want it,
the hyenas.
I want you to explain it. So you're saying hyenas do what you just said.
They do just what I just said.
Okay. And
they're not organized. They organize in the way that they hunt in a certain way. But when they come around, if they don't respect the men either. So when I gave the example earlier.
Are we using the word respect as we understand it as human beings?
As we understand it as human beings, they do not respect the men.
So the animal hyena makes a decision that I'm not going to respect the men, or is that your interpretation of it?
No, they don't respect the men. They will literally birth the male.
Okay.
They will literally birth the male into their pack, but they do not respect them. So those type of men walk around with their head down, but he got her mindset.
Wait, you said those type of men or those hyenas?
The hyenas, those type of male hyenas.
This is what I mean by convoluting. Are we talking about people right now, or are we talking about animals in the animal kingdom? What are we talking? Because I feel like you're kind of mixing them together. So this is what I mean by it convolutes the conversation. Now, let's just digress a little bit, and let's just not use the analogy.
You have to post this. You have to post this to let people hear exactly what I'm saying and see if they can decipher what I'm saying. Because
I understand what you're saying. I feel like you're attempting to say it's just not very clear. And I feel like it's getting convoluted.
For you.
Yeah, but you're speaking to me. So
okay, so let me speak.
There's not an audience here. It's just
let me speak. All right, so let me speak Lorraine. Let me go. Let me go into Lorraine.
Okay.
Okay, so for Lorraine, when we're talking about the animals hyenas, they have a lack of respect amongst one another.
Okay, the animals.
They have a lack of respect amongst one another. If they get a chance to cut the other one down, they will do it. When they have males that are born into their pack, the males walk with their head down. The males are not treated fairly. The males are not respected in that pack.
Okay.
So they're not treated as kings, such as in a lion kingdom.
Okay.
When a young male is born, he's treated in a level of respect as well.
Okay.
Because they know
explain in the animal kingdom how the male lion is treated with respect. I'm literally gonna ask you questions like I'm 5 years old.
Okay, it's cool. Let's get to it.
Yeah.
So the males, because the women in that pack, in the lion pack, know that my son is next to lead a generation in another pack.
Okay.
They know that the value of their son.
Okay.
They don't disvalue their daughters either, because the women stick together in lion packs.
Okay.
So they have a lot of respect for their sons, because the father is there to make sure that he teaches the son how to hunt. He makes sure that he has a level of respect. He understands the order. Okay. So the son grows up with the dad. Now they become a stronger force because he's taught him how to hunt and all that stuff. And the women has actually been there to support him. That's in the lion pack. Okay. In the hyena pack, there is no respect for the boys. Okay. There is no respect. If the man wants to mate in the hyenas, if he wants to mate, they will beat him up before he even get a chance to mate.
What?
They will beat him up. Because the women are bigger than the men.
So how do the hyenas procreate?
They eventually do, but the males hyenas are smaller than the women hyenas.
Okay, that's an irrelevant point. What do you mean by, you mean like their literal size?
Their size.
Okay,
The males are smaller.
Okay, but what does that have to do with anything? Is that what makes the men weaker because they're literally physically smaller?
No, it's just they don't have a respect for him.
Because he's smaller?
No, just because they don't respect the males. Like
Okay.
there's no
So the
level of
size
respect.
doesn't really matter.
The
It's just-
size don't matter. It's like they don't respect the males. It's ran by women.
Okay, so now you got that all off your chest, correct? You've explained the animal kingdom.
The cattiness in the hyenas
Clevonne
too.
National Geographic perspective, right?
There's a lot of cattiness too. Don't forget that part.
Okay. So is it cattiness from the lions because they're literal cats?
From the hyenas.
Okay,
They're very
because
catty
hyenas are
amongst.
classified as dogs, right? They're canines.
Okay. They are in the category. They're supposed.
I'm just busting your chops.
No,
Joe.
you good. You good.
Okay, but now that you've explained it, can we move past it?
But you asked me to give an example. Like
No,
how
I
does
did.
how does it correlate to humans? That's what you asked me.
Okay, so now that we've explained the animal kingdom and their mindset, literally from the animals, from Clevonne's National Geographic
Okay.
explanation,
Okay.
let's now translate that into your experience. So obviously there is this comparison to animal to human. So when we talk about the lion and the king lion, who
Yes.
are we talking about as a human being?
Who are we talking about as a human being?
Yeah, describe that
we're
human
talking about
to me.
that human is a family that makes sure that they raise their son to be ready.
A
for
family
the
or a
world.
man?
The family works together.
Okay, but the
as a
male
whole.
lion that you're talking about in your analogy, the male lion, who is he in your community as a human being when you're
In my
comparing?
community, I didn't really see him. In my community,
Mhm.
and this is a jab to my community.
Okay.
The male lion was really a hyena, but he was the pastor of a church.
Oh my God.
You asked me to give you an example, right?
Okay.
So the pastor of these churches were deemed as the leaders of our community, but they were really
So now
hyenas.
you're calling, so from your example of the animal kingdom to human beings, I'm making sure I'm following you. You're now saying that the leaders of your church and your community are actually male hyenas.
A lot of them.
Okay.
A lot of them.
And translate that as it means to humans, as it pertains to humans.
The male leaders that I grew up around, that
Okay.
I seen, I witnessed, would literally tell the women, you don't need a man, but he's married. You don't need put him on child support, but he's married.
Okay.
Wait on God, wait on Jesus. He gonna come and he gonna save you. He gonna provide all your needs. You don't need. So they work to break up the homes.
But that's not how you describe the male hyena in the animal kingdom.
Okay, listen. I said I'm talking about a mind. Hyenas have a mindset.
I understand that, Clevonne.
So when you say who was the leader in your community, I say he was supposed to be a lion, but he had a hyena mindset.
Okay. So you said he was a male hyena.
Correct.
And earlier you described the male hyena as someone who has their tail between their leg, their head down, and they're beat up and they can't even mate. Now you're describing the male pastor in your community as a male hyena.
Because he
But
has
what
her mindset.
has her mindset.
The
or-
women hyena
This
mindset.
is what I mean by not convoluting the conversation. Because right there's so much things that don't make sense.
For you.
Well, because you're contradicting what you're explaining.
But okay, so it doesn't make sense for you.
Okay, but I'm the one who's
Okay.
conversing with
So
you.
my conversion with you, okay, so that you don't get lost in it.
Okay.
The males who are born in the hyena pack have the same mindset as the women.
Okay, that's not what you said earlier.
I've said it numerous of times, but I'll say it right now.
You
So
did not.
in this conversation, the male hyenas, even though the women beat them up, they don't respect them. The men have the same mindset as the women.
Okay.
They're a part of the same cattiness. They're a part of it. They run with the pack. Okay.
Okay.
So there is no thing of like let's make sure we have generational success. Let's make sure we keep the families together. Blah blah blah. The male hyenas that lead in my community, these are male hyenas with the women hyena mindset. Don't let it go too far over your head. The men that were leaders in my community had the same mindset of hyenas. That's all I'm saying. The men had the same mind. So what you can translate it as women.
Okay.
The leaders were hyenas. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You're not a hyena. This is
I'm
not
not
you
worried
being a
about
hyena.
trust me.
Okay,
It's the
so
furthest thing from my mind at this
so
point.
what's losing you at this
I'm
point
not
is what?
losing. You're not losing me. I'm just bewildered. I guess maybe you are, because this is, again, and I'm going to keep repeating this. This is exactly why I don't like to convolute the conversation, because you're trying to explain one thing as an analogy, and then you're breaking this analogy down. I gave you full floor to explain that animal kingdom from your understanding of it. Okay.
Which, yes, I have.
I don't know where the research came from or whatever, but I'm going to just err on the side of caution and say it's what you're saying is somewhere, some fact somewhere. Okay. But you're giving these descriptions.
Okay.
Then when I ask you to translate it into human beings, like
Correct.
actual human beings, not animals in the animal kingdom, it starts to get even more convoluted, in my opinion, because you described female hyenas and who they are and what they do in the animal kingdom. And then you had this very descriptive example of male hyenas and what happens to them because of these women.
Correct.
Then you translate and say the pastors in your community are male hyenas.
Correct.
Now, if I were just to base it off of what you explained a moment ago, I would conclude that there are men who keep their head down and the women dominate them. Then you turned around and said, well, no, the male pastors have the mindset of the female hyenas.
Yes.
I'm just like, come
okay,
on.
because you asked me, your question was, who are the male lions in your community? That's your question. And I say they're portrayed like lions, but they're really hyenas. The portrayal, because there's a lot of respect given to him as if he's a lion, but he's a hyena mindset. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
There is a...
Wouldn't it just be easier just to say what you feel and what you experience instead of trying to compare it?
But you asked me to get a comparison. That's why I gave you.
No, but I'm just asking you now that we've gotten all this analogy out of the way. Wouldn't it just be easier to say, from my experience in my community, I feel like the pastors who are supposed to be leaders in our community are participating in breaking down our community? Couldn't you just have that conversation?
But I just said that in
Wouldn't
so many
it be
words.
easier, instead of this confusion about this is how this animal acts over here, and if I compare it to this animal, and then it's just convoluted.
So if you ever are presented with this again,
I hope I'm never, ever
you will be.
presented
You
with
will.
this
As long as you keep on living, you're going to be presented with this more. You have to start looking. You have to look this up. And it's on YouTube.
But I'm not interested in
on
this,
all social media. I know, but
I don't. Okay, let me say this. You know, it's like, I understand what you're trying to explain, actually. Okay, I do understand what you're trying to explain. Whether it's being articulated well or not, that's debatable. But I do understand it, okay? Now, I like to have conversations that are not tied into cognitive bias. That's very important for me, because what happens is when we do these kind of things as people, we distort ourselves in what we think and see. That cognitive bias will get you trapped into a belief system and you only hear one thing. So what happens is it causes people to close their mind to the conversation. And I don't like to do that. You know, I feel like the more mindful we become about things that are really happening in your community, in my community, amongst men, amongst women, black men, black women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The more we have these real conversations where we're not using analogies for things. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to take away whatever relevance you find that it is, because that's your opinion about that. But for me to literally research an animal in the animal kingdom and find a way to compare it to human beings, I would just much rather look at behavioral science and why people do the things they do and how it affects our community.
So, okay.
That's me in my mind, okay? So this conversation isn't over my head. I just think like it convolutes the real issue.
But you tuned out as well when it comes to the
I'm really literally focused here.
So if you heard me, then you would understand where I'm coming from. Now, when I bring it back to reality-wise, this is what I followed. This is what led me.
Okay.
Growing up, this is my experience. This is what I seen, what I witnessed.
Yes.
So when I compare it, when I, Clevonne, compare it to hyenas, that's what I seen. I seen the disorder. I seen unorganized. I seen how it was cut down. I seen how I was nurtured by this mindset. That's all I'm saying. And when I say that, it's a
But the
mindset.
was there regardless of it being compared to animals,
So
correct?
I'm not. So some people will go back to slavery. Some people will go back to whatever it is, the government, blah blah blah. I'm going to.
You're going to the animal kingdom.
The reality of this is this. This is what we see, and I'm taught like, oh, you're a lion, but really you're being broken down. So how can I be labeled as a king when I'm being broken down by hyenas? And it's going just let it be what it is. So in the community wise, I wish it could be better. Yes. I wish it was different.
Okay.
I've watched a lot of stuff in the community where there were kids broken down.
Okay.
I've watched kids have behavioral issues they teamed up against them, especially the homosexual community in the church. I've watched these people ding them so much, and their messages will be on them, tearing them down, breaking them down.
Let's talk about that, because that kind of stuff is important. I believe those kind of conversations are very, very important.
But can I say this, that while these people and children are going through, they're tearing them down. And what hurt me the most through my healing journey is I stayed for so many years because I didn't know no better. I didn't have no one actually telling me, you don't have to be a part of this. You're better than this. This isn't what we do. I had everyone saying, this is what you're supposed to do. So that was my teaching. So through going through the phase of healing, I had to learn how to break that mindset. And what happens when you're breaking that mindset is you don't realize how many people are actually praying on you. So when people would tell me, I'm praying for you, I was really the prey.
Wait, you're saying praying as our EY or AY? Were they praying
I was the
for
prey.
you or
I was the
praying on you?
PREY.
Okay,
when people
gotcha.
say I'm praying for you, come here so I can pray for you, PRAY, I was really the prey.
Okay, those are real conversations.
In high hopes that I would fail. So even in the moments where I did fall, where I did fail, where I did lose, I didn't see nobody coming to try to pray for me because it was the prey. I was the prey. In high hopes that you would fail. That's what you get. That's your fault. You should have known better. You should have did this. If that was me, people always say, if that was me, I'm shifting the conversation right here.
I see.
Keep up with me. People say, if that was me, but they never been in my position. They've never experienced what I've experienced. They never seen what I've seen.
Okay.
So I hear people giving all this stuff about what I should have did, but nobody has the answers of how to fix it as well.
Okay, so then let's talk about it. That's right. Take a breath.
No,
you just unloaded. You unpacked a whole bag there. And I feel like that's a relevant conversation. I feel like those are your experiences, and let's talk about it, because I feel like there are a lot of people who can relate to what you just said.
A lot of, for me personally, I was raised in the church.
Okay.
And what I hated about that through my healing journey, and I had to deal with this, was the fact that people will set you up in some stuff. They will do some demising things towards you and then say, God gonna work it out. And then they'll do stuff to you and say, in the name of the Lord, God gonna fix it, or this and that. They'll cover it up, what they did towards you, instead of admitting that they were wrong. There are people that will do some backstabbing stuff towards you and then use a Bible scripture against you.
Okay.
And make it like you're crazy, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. These are things that I grew up dealing with myself, and I had to learn how to adapt, so I live within that.
Okay.
So now shifting, let's go back to the shift. Keep up with me right here. When there were men that came in the church, and where I grew up at, there wasn't a lot of respect towards those men that came in the church. There was always more respect towards the pastor.
And who was the ones that were not giving the respect to the men? Was it the male pastors?
Definitely.
And the women as well?
Yeah.
So it's not just a woman hyena thing and a man hyena thing.
But it's the mindset thing.
Okay, so let's talk about that mindset. Where do you think, in your opinion, that mindset, where is the origin of the mindset? It's like the chicken and the egg. Who created the mindset to begin with? Was it the men in your community, or was it the women in the community, or was it both? Where did it come from?
I was born into it, so I can't tell you.
Okay.
It's a generational thing. Many of us are born into generational curses. And we're born into this cycle where we grew up in, and you will see, I could literally see a relative of mine do something vindictive and turn around and play victim. I grew up into this.
Yeah.
So.
But I think a lot of people do that in general.
A lot of people do that. But what happens is, with a lot of children have to adapt to survive.
Okay.
In these communities, these situations. I have literally watched, I don't know what's too much, but I've literally watched young girls and boys violated, and they would blame the kids and never blame the violator.
Yeah.
I've watched that throughout time, and that bothered the hell out of me through my healing journey. And so now when we birth children, what happens is we have children that are subconsciously in this situation. So our children are in this environment, in this situation, and they don't have no fight, because it's a repetition of what happened to mama, what happened to grandma, what happened to auntie, and the family keep it quiet. They keep it on the hush and they blame the children. I watched that. And when we would go to church, they would sit there and bring the kids up and scold the kids as well. These are things what I seen that bothered me to this day.
I get it. So what would you say then in your mind is a way to overcome this? How do we as a people go into a community where that's something that is happening rampantly from your experience, and give people mindfulness to break up that pathology? Like what would you say needs to be done, and where does it start? Because this is again why last week we were kind of bantering, right? Because it's like, these are the real conversations. This is the kind of stuff. When we remove ourselves from these categories and these things, we get to the root of what you're thinking and feeling. And that's the part that really needs to be heard, right? And so what is it, in your opinion, other than us complaining about it happening or being angry that it has happened or bickering over what is happening? How do we rise above that and come up with solutions within the community?
It's too many to answer. It's too many. I can't. You can't just give a solution when there's so many.
That's fair.
So many issues that go on. When I brought up the thing about child support, when I brought that up before, I recognize that breaks our homes apart.
The paying for child support, or just child support in general? The
system alone is set to break our homes up. That's $1 trillion, trillions of dollars, to assure that the home is broken. And what happens in
well, I don't know. Hold on. Let me challenge you on this one.
Can I say this real quick?
Sure.
In what happens is, it's promoted to a lot of women, girl, we're going to make sure you get your money.
Okay.
I watch men that are literally broken, falling apart, don't have no help, no support. And they say, it's your obligation to pay this. The man just lost his job. He just lost everything. There is not the same supplement for men it is for women. This is truth. And you're a woman, I'm a man, I've lived this. So going in there to fight the courts and then fighting to just be a part of your children's life, so you don't pay, you can't see the kids. They keep the kids away from you, it's your fault. You call the 411 number, they barely show up. She called the 411 number, they're going to show up.
Information?
Because you got to call the 411 number. You can't call 911 unless
it's called 311.
311. Thank you for fixing me.
What's
what I'm saying is the support is more so geared towards the antics of ignorance. That's it. The people who are literally trying to work to keep their families together, they don't do all that.
That confused me. It's all towards the antics of ignorance. Okay, my question for you was this. I'm not negating anything you're saying, right? I understand that the judicial system is by far, flawed by many. It's flawed. I'll just say that. So I'm not here to argue that point.
Okay.
But what you did say, which I thought was interesting, was that the judicial system is breaking up the homes.
Correct.
But you're going to the judicial system because the home is already broken.
Is it?
So why are you there at a custody battle if you don't have a broken home?
Who broke it?
Well, did the judge come in and say y'all need to break up?
Who asked the judge to come into it?
The people break up and then they go to the courts to allow the law to make a decision. Now, is the decision making of lawmakers always the right thing? No, I think it's incredibly flawed. But my question to you is the court system breaking up the home, or was the home already broken because of the mindset in the community?
The court system is really set to break the homes.
But how is it breaking the homes when you're already there because the home is broken? Is my question.
Okay, we didn't work out.
Okay, so the home is already broken.
That's a far-fetched statement.
I'm asking a question.
Because you and I didn't work out, the home is broken? The home is broken.
Well, how do you define broken home?
Broken home is, there's a lot of definitions for that. I can't just get one.
Simplify it. How do you define a broken home?
When we get to a point where we're not even responsible parents together.
Okay.
I'll just say it like that. That's just a blanket.
What does it have to do with the court system breaking up your home? It's already broken.
No. So when we broke up, no. See, you're paraphrasing to say because we broke up, it's
I'm
a broken
not
home.
paraphrasing.
When we broke up, it's a broken home. That's what you're saying.
Well, you said earlier that a broken home is caused by the court system. That's what you said.
It's really induced. It induces it. It makes it more complicated. You and I are communicating. We don't see eye to eye. We're not together anymore. It didn't work out. We have a child together. What can we do to fix this with this kid?
Okay.
Right? Now, you do have people, let's be clear, that are vindictive.
Okay.
You do have people that don't want to do nothing, that don't want to be there.
Of course.
You have that in the world. But there is a good amount of people that are fighting to be there. There are a good amount of people that are fighting to be there, and they're saying, let's raise this child together.
Okay.
So when the child does not have both parents on one accord, one page, seeing eye to eye, working it out on behalf of the child, now the child is trapped in the middle of it.
But who puts them in the middle?
Who did put them in the middle?
The parents did.
So how did we get to a point where we can't even work together?
That's an issue between those two individuals.
So do you feel it's necessary for us not to do 50-50 custody?
I think it depends on the circumstances. I think certain circumstances, it's great that there's 50-50. I think that in certain circumstances, one parent is a better fit parent
Do
than
you
the
feel
other.
that it's necessary for us not to do 50-50 custody?
It depends on the situation.
No. Okay, if you have, let's be clear.
I will say this.
Salud.
We can't.
Salud.
We cannot assume every parent is a fitting parent, right? Hold on, let me finish. You're asking me a very specific question. Do I think it's fair that parents should have 50-50? I will answer the question, yes, if both parents are suitable to be with the kid.
How do you know that?
There's many different variables, Clevonne. We could go on
Exactly.
this
It's a blanketed.
Okay, but you're asking me a very vague question without any backstory to it. So I can't say yes because that's not always the case.
Okay, so both parents have stability.
Okay.
You have a home, I have a home.
Okay.
You have a job, I have a job.
Okay.
We both are good parents to this child.
Yeah, then sure, they should split it 50-50.
Why? Okay, you had a child as a woman.
Okay.
You knew when you had a child, like what type of man you pretty much had. I know that I want a child with this person.
Okay.
I know that I want a kid with this person. I know what they are capable of, what they do, what they don't do, so on and so on. So when you have a person and that's a good father, and why take him out the equation?
Okay, but you're asking me, right?
But you're answering on behalf of
I'm answering on behalf of myself.
Okay, so
you
why,
didn't ask me to answer
so
on behalf of
why
many.
do you feel it's necessary? Why do you feel that a lot of, because it's always mainly provoked by women.
What's mainly provoked by women?
When we talk about going through the court system, we're gonna bring it in.
Okay, so you're talking to me here.
Okay.
So let me preface this by saying this. Okay, you're assuming a lot by asking me questions because the reason why I say you're assuming is because you haven't actually asked me from my experience. So I will tell you my experience since you asked.
Oh, here we go.
First of all, I had a kid at an early age, okay? My son's father and I...
How old were you?
I was 17.
Okay.
My son's father and I split up. We broke up. We broke the home.
Okay.
Not the court systems, not anybody else. We decided to part ways when my son was less than a year old, okay?
Okay.
Now, I made a decision and he made a decision that we didn't feel that we as a couple were working. And so we split up. But
That's understandable.
I grew up with no father in a home, okay? I didn't have that in my life. So that was very important for me that my son had a healthy relationship with his father.
Okay.
And that I did not get in the way of that. So for me, the assumption you're making is completely wrong when it comes to me as a woman, because I was amicable with my son's dad. I respected him as a man and as a father for my son.
Okay.
And I separated and I let go of our indifferences so they could have a healthy relationship. So we didn't need the court system. We agreed that we're going to split the cost to raise our son 50-50.
Okay.
You know, although my son lived with me primarily. Okay. My son was with me, 5-6 days out of the week and spent, a couple of days on the weekend with his father, because that's what our schedules, how it worked out for our schedules. But we understood that we were raising a son and it took a tribe, not just me and him.
Okay.
Okay. So we were able to set aside our differences And even when there were issues between us, we just handled it. So I didn't take my son to court, or excuse me, my son's father to court, and do all of that stuff. Because we were able to be amicable and just be responsible adults for our child.
That's awesome.
Okay, it was still a broken home. I'm not blaming the court system for why we broke up. We were young, and it just happened. And we've had our disagreements, and we had things we didn't agree upon, and all of that. So when you ask me the question, I can only give you my anecdotal perspective because it's from my experience.
Okay. All right. So that's from your experience.
And that's why I don't like to
from my experience
box people up.
Okay.
Okay,
so
but we can talk about your experience because how many children do you have, Clevonne?
It don't matter about that.
Sure,
no. It matters of what I chose.
But how many children do you have?
And how many
children? You
have
have six children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many mothers do you have?
4.
So you have 4 mothers,
Correct.
6 children.
Correct.
Okay. And this is not a knock on you.
Go for it.
But
I'm okay.
But when we have these broken homes and we can't come to agreements, remember that woman picked you, you picked her. And you did that 4 times.
Okay, so now here's the thing. As you spoke, I'm going to bring this up.
Okay.
I am a father. I love being a father. When we talk about what our choices were, and this goes back to teaching children, men, women, how to heal.
Okay.
If people don't know how to heal and they're not coached on what to choose, they will make these mistakes a lot of times.
Okay.
I chose women from the community with the same mindset, with the same background. Put him on child support. He don't need to be there. That's what I heard all my life.
Okay.
So I chose that. I watched my uncles go through this. The fight for that. And I watched my uncles have multiple kids, multiple women. It's a normal thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until I actually matured within myself, which came really late. Like, damn, I really messed up.
Okay.
I really messed up. So when we talk about the choices, nobody ever taught me to say, you know what, if you choose to leave your seed, because it's very valuable, make sure it's with somebody who deserves it. Make sure it's with somebody you want to be with. Make sure. I wasn't taught this stuff.
Okay, so let me ask you this. At what point do you take accountability? Wait,
no. Hold on.
I'm just asking.
I am taking accountability. What I'm telling you right now is I matured a lot later to understand my own mistakes within the whole equation. I'm not blaming these women. Not one time did I just blame them. But what I chose, I wish I was more mature in what I chose. Okay. So this is the card I was dealt. Now I'm dealt a card where we're going to fight in the courts. Listen to me. I got to go fight in the courts to even just be there with my kids. And even when I try to be there to pick them up, the cops were threatening to arrest me if I'm 5 minutes late. I was threatened. I was thrown on child support.
Why would they arrest you for being late?
Listen, this is what I dealt with in my community and my experience. When I was 19 years old, I was put on child support. Okay. 19. They told me, if you don't sign these papers, you're going to jail. Just like that. I tried to get a lawyer. You don't sign these. So now I'm strong-armed into this because remember, this is a part of what my uncles deal with, what my cousins are dealing with. Everybody in the community deals with this from where I'm from. So it's a normal thing.
Okay.
When you're raised in an environment, most people become products of their environment.
I understand
regardless of how gifted you are. And the fight is trying to get out of it.
I understand that.
Getting out of it is not that easy.
I'm a testimony to that.
So me right now, accountability. Here's the accountability.
Okay.
Without putting blame, I can break down each one of these children's mothers.
We don't need to do that.
No, listen to me.
We ain't got time.
When I say break down, I'm saying I can look at positive within each one of them, despite all the ignorance. Because you get so caught up.
Would you say that you're equally ignorant then?
I was.
Okay.
I definitely was. And some people play on it. Some people are more like, hey, this dude got all this going on. He not aware. You ever see the young ladies who she's beautiful? It's like, how did she end up with him and he ain't nothing? Because they caught her where she's vulnerable. So a lot of people.
That's not necessarily true.
Vulnerability will put you in bad positions sometimes.
That's totally stereotyping.
It's, man. I'm talking about when somebody
Wait, hold on.
somebody's not equal to you.
Can we just tap on that comment real quick?
Okay.
You see a beautiful woman
with somebody who ain't got nothing going on in life.
Okay, I thought you said he was like an unattractive man. Maybe
no. With somebody who ain't got nothing going on in life.
But just because she's beautiful doesn't mean she got something going on in her life.
Listen, she's beautiful. She got a lot going for herself. And then she get locked in with this person.
I don't think that happens that often.
It happens quite often.
I think that just because a woman is beautiful, it doesn't equate to the fact that she has it all. She's got all her stuff together.
I'm not saying.
Hold on. Can I just say an analogy? Can I just say this real quick? I get it, you and your analogies. But what I'm saying is, just because a woman is beautiful, I'm going to repeat this. It doesn't mean that she's got all her stuff together. Okay.
I know a lot like that.
Okay, so when you say that you see a beautiful woman with a guy
who ain't got nothing going on in life,
then you're assuming she's got all her stuff together just because she's beautiful.
So, all right, let's use this.
Hold on, let me finish, please, Clevonne.
Okay, go for it.
Sometimes a beautiful woman don't have it all. She don't have all her stuff together,
and
she attracts herself to a man who's just a duplication of herself in a different form. So when you look at somebody just at a glance, you're making a lot of assumptions with that comment. And it just isn't always true.
So you got somebody who's beautiful, who got a lot going for themselves, and link up with somebody who don't have nothing going on.
I'm going to tell
somebody
you,
who's productive with somebody who's unproductive.
I will tell you this. The more you have your stuff together, the more grounded and centered in who you are as a person, how you value yourself and your worth, the more your level of standards here, the less you're going to be with people who are beneath that for you.
Some people mature
regardless
faster
of
than
what
others.
you look like.
Some people mature faster than others.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about maturity right now. I'm talking about state of mind.
State of mind helps with that village set as well.
Okay.
That village support, it helps with the state of mind. And if we don't have that, we have to learn to create more healthier communities. And it's not where you grew up at, it's what you create around you. That's what I learned now is my community of people are not the people I grew up with. It's a different mindset of individuals who are like, man, and people don't call me Clevonne, they call me Funches. They're, hey, Funches, bro, you have blah, blah, blah. You can do blah. And growing up amongst people who were just like, you ain't shit. You could, whatever. Cut the cut down component.
Yeah, I get that.
So now being in a, that's why I always bring up healing. With healing, would I have made the same mistakes? No. But I didn't know no better myself, because you can be, I've seen people who are thriving, successful with the same mindset from the hood. I've seen people, and when I say the hood mindset, mean I got to go back to the hood. I'm going to flaunt in the hood, and I'm going to stay in this. I think
the more you expose yourself to outside ideas other than the box you grew up in, the less likely you are or have this desire to go back. Especially if going back is shrinks what you've expanded. I do. There's a thing when you're educating yourself, when you are becoming more familiar and open to other cultures and ideas.
Yes.
When you are amongst different levels of society, it does shift and mold and change you. And so I think if you're really immersed in that, open-minded, and you're learning things from that, although there are certain mentalities that kind of become personality traits, if you will, I think the more exposure and the more mindful you become as a human being, the less likely you are caught up in those distortions. Because a lot of the boxes that we're in, or the communities we grew up in, or the environments we grew up in, and I don't care if it's a ghetto or a high society or whatever, everybody has their box. I think what happens is when we're only in those environments, then we get very distorted with what reality really is. And that's a real human brain thing. That's behavioral science. I mean, there's studies on this. Again, like I could have someone who grew up in high society, so to speak, and been, in their foo-foo neighborhoods and their suburbans and whatever, and have never been around culture and people and whatever. Okay. And their perception of human beings are just as distorted as someone who comes from the hood.
Can I say this? And from me growing up, and this is what I had to heal from too, this is a part of my healing, is I was taught, go back to your hood, help your community, help your people. And I got to throw the church in here.
Okay.
Give, but you don't ever receive back. I'm constantly giving. Hear what I'm saying. I'm constantly giving to my church, my community, but I'm not getting anything back.
Well,
so
then
when
why do you give? Do you give to get back?
It's a part. Going back to what we said about the mindset, about a lot of this. So I've thrived to become successful, get all of this, and I stayed in this community. I stayed around this community and mindset of people. And there are people that will mentor us, that we think are ahead of us, that we think got it together. And they have the same mindset and antics going on.
But someone has to incite change, right?
Somebody, but you got to get around it. And a lot of people have to break the mold of letting go of where you come from, letting go of who you've been around, take the loss.
I think, and I know we're getting ready to conclude, but I do think this. You have to change your mindset first in order to go in and believe that there can be change.
Healing has to be in that, though. That's how you start changing that mind. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
And so
healing helps.
When you have a mindset that says, I give,
yes,
and I don't get anything back, then you have to measure the intention of why you give. I have learned in my life, right, that when I give, it's a source of abundance with no expectation of outcome. That has liberated me completely. So I could go into my old community, and which I do. I mentor young girls who were just like me when I was little.
Okay.
When I go in and I talk to these young teenage girls and I mentor them, I have the mindset of understanding I was once them, and I know what they're closed-minded about. And I can only go in there and plant little seeds, but I don't expect outcome right in front of my face. I don't expect there to have these radical shifts immediately.
But children are more receptive too.
But I know where they're coming from, so I can go in there with empathy and still go back to my community, regardless of the changes that I've made, because I can infiltrate it differently. Does that make sense? Like, I don't need them. I'm not worried about what they're thinking of me. I'm not worried about them being against what I have to say. And I don't give to them for them to give me something back. I am genuinely doing it from a place of abundance and compassion. And I just believe, because I have to believe that, because if I have that outcome for myself, then I have to believe that there are other little young girls that are in those communities, in those environments, that if they have the right mentorship and the right seed planting, maybe you can't change the adults. Maybe you can't convert them.
Can I say this though?
Yeah.
Children, because this is why I love kids. Kids come to you as they are. Kids come to you and say, "Oh my God, Miss Lorraine, I love your ponytail. That's so great." And an adult would be like, "Look at her with that ponytail. I bet it's horse hair.
Yeah,
that horse has hairs on her head." So a lot of the adults will come to you as well and take. So I kept being around too many adults.
but you got to
and
stop.
not the kids. Wait,
if I may
hold on.
say before we close,
Wait,
you got to let that go, Clevonne.
Wait, no.
Okay.
Let me make my point. Is piggybacking off what you just said.
Okay.
You just said you go in and mentor children.
Yeah.
You didn't say you're going in there to give to the adults. You're mentoring children, young girls.
Though.
So no. What I'm saying is my biggest mistake is I kept giving to too many adults who, when you give, they just throw it to the trash. The children will come to me in a genuine state after I give to them, and they're so appreciative that they're holding on to it.
I hear you.
They have more hope. So when we give to kids, kids are ready. They're ready to make a change.
I don't think that all adults are hopeless.
I didn't say all adults, but I hung around too many adults that were takers, what I'm telling you.
I understand that, but you went in there, you're going in there with a mindset of being taken from. You just got to go there steadfast who you are. And just like you learned your lessons as an adult, you weren't a kid. So somewhere along your experience, you were apt for change, and you made those changes, and you're working on those changes.
It came late, and I was raised in the church. I'm going to bring this back up.
Okay, but we have to go. You got to
we got to go, but I'm going to finish this point.
Okay.
There are many people that are raised in the church a lot of times who are taught to give. God wants you to give and give back to your community, give back to your people. And they give so much, but they don't get anything in return. Like I said, when I give to a lot of the children are ready. They are ready to make a change. They are receptive. But a lot of times we miss it. So I would encourage people to give to more of the kids.
No, just give to give. If your heart is set
up programs to reach these babies, because it's going left.
But just give to give. If your heart is compelled to give, then give.
Okay, so to conclude this dialogue,
there's nothing wrong with giving, but the moment you have an expectation to get something back, I know
no, I didn't say to get nothing back. I say you're giving around people. No. I say for me personally, giving amongst people, I am here praying, I'm here waiting, and I'm giving, but I don't get anything back. I'm not saying I'm looking. No. What I'm saying is I don't go looking for anything back. But when I'm down, the place in the community where I gave, I would expect them to say, "Let's help him get up," as he's given to us to make sure we're good too.
Or how about
a lot of times the mindset is not there.
Can I reframe that a little bit? How about this? I am a giver, and I've given to this group. I understand what you're saying. I understand.
Can you clarify what I'm saying if you understand? Because
I'm trying to, but we do have to conclude.
Clarify and make your point. But can you clarify what I'm saying in Lorraine terms?
What you're saying, what I'm hearing you say is that when I have given and given and given, that time of need in my life, it's as though I had never given them any, and they turned their backs on me. You felt abandoned.
Yes.
That is what I heard you say.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. And what you also said was, I wish that when I needed them, they said, he gave so much to us, we should give it back. But what I'm saying is to reframe that as saying, it would have been nice for you to be amongst people who gave as you gave,
Yes.
regardless
Yes.
of the
Thank
fact
you.
that you gave.
So
Because a giving person can help. I can help somebody because I have a giving abundance, regardless of whether or not
Yes, me
they've
too.
given anything to me.
me too.
And that's why I'm just saying reframe it, because that gets locked into your brain and it makes you resentful and hurt and bitter. And I understand what
Before
you're
healing.
saying. Okay, so
Before
how are
healing.
we going to conclude this? Because we
okay.
are past our time.
Okay, so we are past our time.
So let's close it up, Cleve.
Okay, got you. We're about to close it up.
Yeah.
And I just have to make this point. Choose a community. That's what I would say. Choose a healthy community that literally genuinely supports you. And while you're down and while you're up, and it will change your life.
Okay.
That makes a huge difference. So to conclude this, we're going to go ahead and pass the mic back over to Miss Lorraine because she opened us up and truly appreciate it. This was a good dialogue that I hate was cut short.
That's okay. We got to get here on time next time.
Yes,
Both you
do.
and I got it.
Yes,
Last week
you
it was you. This
do.
week it was me. So
Oh, man.
anyway, thank y'all for watching The Cat and Mouse. As you can see, we have our opinions.
We
for
got a
sure.
little chase going right now.
And if there's anything you want us to tap on as far as conversation, please let us know. This is our new podcast and we want to grow it with a community of people. We want this to be a healthy place to have healthy debates and conversations. So please try to be kind.
I would love for us to get to the point where we can start rebuilding a lot of families.
Did you hear that horn?
At home, yeah.
That horn meant it's time to stop.
Yeah, that was them doing construction. So I